Welcome back. It's been a while. It's been an hour and 40 minutes since we last got to cast some StarCraft because, well, we were a series ahead of everybody else. So alas, we had to wait for the main stage to finish up and then wait for Bunny to come over. And of course it took a while. And here we are finally an hour and 45 later, ready to jump into Dia versus Bunny. Best of 3 series. So let's kick this off. Our third last series of my entire time cast in the IEM Katowice here. So we're going to do Bunny Dia, then TY Dia. Lucky us. And then we're also going to be going into the final series of the group as well. That's still to be determined. We start to the bottom right hand side of this Protoss versus Terran with the Protoss half of the matchup of the players. Dia from Newbie has taken a loss to Scarlet but took down Sue, so the Zerg's out the way. Time to see what he can do against the Terrans of this group. Still has to play Bunny, then New Thermal, then TY. Of course, we'll cast Dia vs TY as the next series. So yeah, that's going to be pretty funky, pretty fun. And meanwhile, of course, Bunny to the top left just comes off of a loss against Thermal, but was able to pick up a win earlier against... Wasn't TY. Wasn't Dia, obviously, wasn't... Against Sue, yes. He just came off a win against Sue. Sue is the player I'm forgetting about in this group for a moment there, and Sue currently bottom of the group, 0-2, but definitely not too late to turn it around. But Sue will have to start winning the rest of his matches. Big win for Bunny then. Lost to Thermal, but then a win against Sue is obviously pretty awesome for him. So, big win as we get this rolling. And see just how Bunny and Dia are going to get set up in this best of 3. Early game looks as though we're going to be seeing those early expands, although it is Cybercore before the Nexus here from Dia, which does open up a little bit of a faster gateway play with the Adept or so, but a little bit of a faster potential as tech choice as well, but generally just looking to Chrono Boost out an Adept, especially with this low ground wall off. The Adepts are going to come out and move across the map so quickly, it's going to be pretty crazy. Panzer drops down on the natural expansion. Start to build this up. Probe did block it just a little bit as the Reaper obviously pops out, and we'll start to take the map control for the Terran players. So moving down the left-hand side, we see the reactor and a factory actually building from Bunny as well. So getting that rolling too. So again, all of this set to go so far. As Bunny's Reaper pulling back over to the left-hand side, and the probe going to get picked off. So, TVP in general has seen this kind of weird sort of status of Terrans are kind of struggling to find a couple things to do. They're definitely scared of going later in the game. We've seen a lot of success with the Raven pushes and stuff like that. So, we've seen a lot of success with those kind of build orders. And the Twilight Council coming up here from Dia could be very well a Blink opening for himself. We've seen a lot of the Blink openings just taking map control, a lot of those gateway heavy builds, charge lots, Blinks. In general, I imagine that Dia... Again, I don't cast Dia a lot. He doesn't play in a lot of my tournaments and so on. I do imagine Dia is the kind of player that will play a lot of kind of Blink Stalker charge, like a lot of gateway heavy units. Bunny is the kind of player who will just play very hectic with his bio. Play a lot of medevac drops, move around the map all over the place. Really try and just pull your opponent apart. So... But he's not even wasting any time. Already second rack's coming down. Doesn't even bother with the starport early game. So never mind the Raven builds. Just a Cyclone to help him defend. Second rack so he can move straight in towards Stimpack. And that's what Dia's going to have to deal with here. As he goes into his extra gates and just watching for those gases. Robo facility coming down. So it looks as though it is going to be a tech choice rather than an all-in. There's the gases coming down to signify that for us as well. So getting the natural gases going. As we do have the Hellion about to arrive at the front of the natural, but a couple of Stalkers very quickly there in position to turn that Hellion away. So Hellion gets turned away pretty quickly. We do see the Stimpack is getting started. Siege Tank coming up as well in the main base. Forge and the Robo Facility dropping down. Just continuing to upgrade for the moment. As we do see the Hellion heading back home. Engineering Bay now starting up from Bunny in the back of the main. So again, all about those bio upgrades. Stim going to be +1. We'll support it with a few siege tanks, especially at the start. A couple siege tanks. You know, you put one up here, you put one over there. it really creates this very safe area of the low ground. And this isn't really a map where you can blink up into the main very easily, but a tank here does kind of cover any play in the main base. It's very easy to reposition if the War Prism comes into the corner, although he is sitting with the Cyclone and a few Marines here to deflect any War Prism play. And there is that War Prism on the way up. Extra gates before the Nexus is a little bit more of an aggressive variant here as the Templar Archives coming through. We'll see if that's a tech straight through to Storm, and yes it is, so no Archons at all, just straight to Storm here from Dia. It's not even playing that gateway heavy kind of Stalker Zealot style. Actually just going to go straight into the Storm and really kind of play with the AoE choices. So Hellion pulling over to the right hand side. We do see the +1 attack, Stimpak, a couple upgrades still coming through from Bunny. As soon as those start to finish, he will be able to take more of a presence on the map, be a little bit more active. You can see after the couple of siege tanks he built defensively, or just the one in this case, he is able to catch enough liver, but also make way for the starport on a reactor, barracks on the other tech lab to get combat shields and double marauder production, and the factory goes into a reactor to start up Widowmine production now instead. Just a little bit of a better way to go about things generally, Widowmines than tanks, although there is some Protoss or Terran builds which, and kind of just styles, you can play kind of the tank kind of support to the bio, it's possible. It works very well against Colossus openings because you can target fire down the Colossus instead of having to go into Vikings right away, which definitely helps out. War Prism going all the way over to the left as we do see the Medivacs loading up into a bunch of bio. So looking to get across the map, and Bunny starting with those drops. We sort of mentioned he likes to drop, he will play crazy, he'll try and be everywhere at the same time. And Dia's looking to apply some pressure as well, but the Zealots don't have charge yet, probably wants to wait for that. It's crazy how much of a difference Zealots having charge has versus not when it comes to trying to drop into the base, right? Because they can charge onto SCVs versus they gotta just walk over and the SCVs are like, oh, an attack, we'll just wander away. Marine at the front takes a loss to the Stalkers. The bunker should hold against that. It really is just the War Prism that's the threat, but obviously the War Prism's not even moving forwards yet. Still just hanging back as Bunny's going to drop straight into the back of the main, but looks like Dia kind of knew about it. First Storm drops down. Feedback on the Medivac as well, and on the other one, Stalkers will actually start to target down the Medivacs. And this first drop of Bunny does absolutely nothing. One Medivac remains alive. There's now the second push coming through the center of the map, and Bunny better hope he starts doing something soon, because that definitely wasn't the best of starts for him there. And he is playing against a free base Protoss already with his third CC, only just now starting to build. Team Medivacs load up on the bottom again, a little bit of bio getting gathered up as we are going to be seeing Bunny also coming through the top side. Zealot of Dia coming around. Does actually see their Medivacs, really good information, and the Stalkers are on the way over too. I mean, so is actually the majority of the army, so actually these units are in trouble. Blinks in straight away for the Medivac number 1. Widowmine will get some good kills though, as he is still right on top of them. There is a full cleanup as now a triple drop into the main base. Stalkers can maybe blink for that low health Medivac, doesn't quite get it. A recall on the rest of the army. Siege Tank's going to be the most annoying part of this. A Storm available, lifts up instantly against it. Oh, the High Templar all clumped up against the Siege Tank, and the Siege Tank gets one of the 5. A couple of them are so low on HP, those 5 probes going down. This is more like it from Bunny, even keeping some other units alive here as well, so that drop isn't just completely dealt with now. He can maybe keep on dropping with this, move back into the main, for example, and get a little bit more done. +1 armor upgrade on the way out. Extra Zealots warping in here on the main base as well. A few SCVs already dropping. Zealots going to go and charge on forwards. I mean, this is the War Prism play finally coming into its own. Finally, that War Prism's been sat back for so long. I love that he has the Sentry here and actually used it for Guardian Shield, which does just reduce the damage output from the bio units. 9 workers killed so far. SCV's got back to mine, but some of the Zealots still in the mineral line. That's 10 workers killed and a good amount of units along with it. Drop the Zealot and pick up the Sentry, maybe. That's a bit of a mistake from Dia. Looks like he's just eager to try and get to the low ground and to drop off another couple of Zealots, or to just escape because the bio is on top of him pretty quickly. Well, Bunny taking quite some damage, and Dia definitely striking back for the few losses he took to the drops over in his main base. Dia now pressing forward through the center, switching it into a Robo Bay and a second Robo Facility. We'll see if probably just Colossus, right? I mean, not really a need to just go into Disruptors instead. Colossus are pretty stable, they're pretty good in terms of going in towards a longer macro game. There isn't any War Prism here, so reinforcements will not join the main army, but obviously if you continue with the Zealots in the main, you could warp in over here. Dia's stacking a lot of money right now. A warp in would be amazing. whether it's out on the map or whether it's in the main base. Even just warping in at home, like he's missing a huge cycle of warp-ins. As we're going to see the warp prism getting recalled, so it can be saved. And a few zealots on the way up. Colossus starts extended thermal lands too. That's where some of the recent money just went to. As we are seeing the High Templars, the Stalkers, a couple of zealots, and the Immortal from Dia all pushing out into the middle of the map. Bunny coming through the bottom side. Stalkers blinking back. Storms are good. On top of the Marines and Marauders so far. Stalkers still dealing a little bit more damage. More Marines and more Marauders getting picked away at the moment. Bunny ready to drop into the main. So setting that up, and away he goes straight to the main base here. A few Stalkers in position. They don't get a chance to blink towards just yet. Extra Zealots warping in as well. Up to the top side, a Warp Prism of units heading across. Again, you just have this little bit of bio here, pressing forward. Stalkers blinking back. High Templar gets killed. Again, Bunny just onslaught with these drops. Drop after drop after drop. Oh, High Templars, though, getting caught in the middle of the map. Bunny picking up some good units here. A real scrappy game, isn't it? And scrappy is the word. Back and forth. Bunny gets damaged, then Dia gets damaged. Then two Colossus show up, and Bunny's like, oh, I've got absolutely no way to deal with those. And that's actually his biggest issue right now, although maybe he can just get on top of them because there's no reinforcements. The Zealots aren't there just yet, so he kills one of the Colossus. Good dive from Bunny. Realizing when he can get forwards there and deal some good hits. Really just missing the High Templars, though. The new ones are out and building up that energy for Storms. They're having the first few caught right in the center. It was already very painful as we see the Marauders looking for that Zealot kill. He's going to get lifted. That Zealot saved here so far. A couple of Widowmines burrowing again. Widowmine not going off, retargeting. Actually, Colossus killed one of them, so it's a little bit of a pain here. Bunny's trying to find another way to fight. Still only is just now building up the Viking count. Hasn't gone into ghost or anything. It's pure bio, and while he does have a supply lead, that is the issue. Generally here, this army of Bunny is not exactly the best in terms of going into a longer game against more splash damage, etc. So he really has to be careful as the medevac count is insane as well, so it's mostly units in the sky too. And as those drops on the bottom side, finds a probe position to start a fifth, although surprised if Dia sets a fifth base up so early because he only just got his fourth up and running. It's barely even mine still. Pylon cancels the majority of the Stalkers. The one that did finish gets killed off instantly. Very nicely done as we see the Stalkers still chasing forwards. Those medevacs boost away. Zealots keep chasing in as well. Stalkers and Zealots will clean up, but the Nexus has already fallen. And it's another win for Bunny here as he does come through. He catches the tech units in the front. High Templars mostly taking the brunt of the damage. Do drop some Storms. The Colossus got picked up and microed by the Warp Prism, so that's how they were saved. The thing is, it was costly for Bunny because he lost a lot of the bio units in the process. Now, Dia going to push for the counter attack. So pushing forward, straight in towards the third base. Couple of Colossus shots already picking off Widowmines. SCV's coming in from the top side, pulling to try and survive as Dia looking very good at the moment. Doesn't need those Storms after killing off so much already, and Bunny knows it. Types out GG and gives Dia the 1-0 advantage in this series. It was those Storms. He dove on the High Templar and it looks good, right? You're like, oh my god, a Colossus High Templar. Let's go. And then the next thing you know, you're in a position where it's like, oh dear. Oh dear. That's not good because the Storms have hit. You've lost a lot of bio. And you actually killed a few High Templar, sure, but they got their Storms off. So the counterattack is super powerful. Pushing across looked real good. Okay, let's get ready for game number 2. Alright, so getting ready to jump into this, waiting for our players, waiting for the caster to join the lobby actually. Just waiting for our caster from the desk to join the lobby. We can't start without them, so I guess they're still in game. I mean, they're not showing any highlights on the mainstream. They won't be for a while because they are well in game. Come on. I want to cast more StarCraft. We just had so much downtime. I don't want to have downtime all over again. Ay. Just waiting for these guys to get here. There we go. Perfect. Good to start up in just a moment. Game number 2. Bunny down a map. Deer up by 1. Again, after this, we're going to watch more of Deer's PvT. It'll be interesting to see how TY approaches the series as well, compared to Bunny, who is again so just drop friendly and drop heavy. I think TY usually has a much more systematic way of just playing the game in general. You know, he's generally one of these players who sort of sits back and says, okay, you know, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to prepare in this way. Those little bits and pieces. As we do see Bunny and Deer getting ready to go, though. Yeah, it'll be fun to see the difference between them. I wonder what we get for our third round match, final matchup of the group. Obviously, it really depends on what else is happening in the other group, and the results that come out in terms of what becomes the most important matchup. Alright, let's do this. To the top left-hand side, up 1-0 on Kairos Junction, our red Protoss is Deer. Representing newbie. Our blue Terran player from Blazer is Bunny. Barracks drops down up on the high ground. Probe from Deer will head down to the lower right. Early game for game 2, and obviously first few moments probably expecting to see expansions from the players. Deer already changing it up with the high ground gateway compared to the low ground, and was for a moment about to drop the Connexus. Then he turned away, and I think he just misclicked and didn't shift click the probe back to mining. So there we go. Nexus will drop down. Cybernex core will begin. Deer getting set here in game number 2. Bunny on the other side of things is just getting ready to expand off of the Reaper. There's that Cybernex core getting started as well, so looking pretty good so far. Looking pretty regular, same as the last game. Bunny having to misplace his CC for a moment. That SCV comes around, probe takes some shots. And there's that Cyber core about to finish up. This Deer comes up the right, scouting around. Just waiting to get back into the natural, but the Reaper never moved across the map. So the idea of the probe here was to move away, Reaper moves across, and the probe comes back in just to double check what's going on. But Bunny keeps his Reaper there until the probe comes back. Good idea. And he kind of plays the meta there and is able to catch that probe kill. Reaper towards the upper left. Robo facility dropping in from Deer as well. Grenade will just pop onto that pylon. And the Adept coming through from Deer. Dealing some good damage to that Reaper. So Reaper taking some shots. Does get pushed away. Robo facility about halfway done already. Again, this Adept just continuing through the center of the map. Chasing that Reaper down. Just chasing this Reaper down. Reaper's going to continue running. Command Center drops onto the natural expansion. SCV still going to be mining. Robo facility from Deer about to complete. And it's an observer on the way out to begin with. So no Twilight Council early game this time. Gets the Robo instead. Will still build some gates on the front here. Wall off this area. Afraid of the little Hellion run-by that's being set up at the moment by Bunny. Although the follow-up to this is just a Cyclone and a couple of Marines does get the starport this time as well. So it's a bit different to last time. tell you what, the Cyclones are very good, actually, at the fact that, in this position where the gates are at the front, because if they lock onto the gates, they can just sit there and kind of pick away at them. And it forces the Pros units to come out of that natural expansion and really defend, and then they're pushing through a choke, which can get a bit funky as well, of course. Now, again, Cyclones nowadays, they just don't really do that much to units on the ground. They have to kind of cancel the lock on the gates and then lock onto the units there, and then they just back away, and then the Cyclones like, oh, well, you know, it's tough for them to do a lot. When Magfield Accelerator was around, I mean, it still is, they were very good, but it takes so much longer to upgrade that now. It's very rare we actually see that upgrade being invested into in early game PvT, because you just don't get that much out of it. By the time it's done, you've kind of passed the time at which you've got Cyclones in good enough numbers, you know, compared to what the Protoss has to deal damage. So that's obviously pretty substantial, as we do see the probe coming through. Units coming with the probe, escorting it. Oh, no target fire. Actually would have gotten the probe kill if he targeted it all the way. Forge and the Robo Bay coming up from Deer in the main base. Just going to be seeing those couple of Hellions picking their way through the pylon. And there is a Liberator to the back of the natural, so looking to set up for a little bit of damage. And those Hellions applying some pressure onto that pylon here. Stalker's coming through, Liberator turned back. Barracks coming up to completion here. Factory going to move over, dropping down the reactor. So reactor coming in, going to see the refinery drops in for Bunny as well. Just going to be seeing Bunny. Well, that's the scan. Cyclone lock-on kills the Observer. Marine gets the kill as well. Nicely done so far. And there's the bunker being salvaged at the front. A couple of Hellions coming back. SCVs will turn around to repair. Yeah, overall, fairly slow-paced game. Not a lot of action. Not a lot of action at all. Third base finishing, Colossus play being committed into, so D obviously completely switching up his start from game 1 where he was committed to that Storm upgrade. So it's a different kind of splash damage composition that he's playing with right now. First medevac just loads up with a few bio units. Only one medevac as well, not even two. Even some units at home. Just load up the tank into the next one. Although you'll need a few more units along with that tank to really do anything substantial. Maybe he wants to just push towards this base here, drop the tank off. Just get that push going while the drop sort of harasses and distracts towards the main base. Observer on the upper side will be able to see that drop coming in as the two Hellions make a dive into the natural. Well, they would have done if that warping wasn't there. Good warping by DA, well timed. Very quick reaction, very well done. I mean, if those Hellions get in, they probably get a couple of probes at least, and it starts to distract you and it starts to kind of pull you apart for this medevac coming into the main, the push on the third base, and the more you get pulled apart for that, the worse it's going to be. As they simply under fire, Colossus is going to deal with it. Over on this side, the tank sieges up where I talked about, but it gets taken down instantly. And Deer has split his army well. Only 2 probes lost, able to fight this well. A very good defense by Deer. Bunny unable to do anything in the early stages, and Deer just sitting ahead in workers. Army supplies are pretty even. And, well, Bunny just going into the third base. At least he's taking it in position, so he doesn't have to float it down or anything. That will save him a few moments. Help him out a little bit. Charge starts on the Twilight, +1 armor coming in on the Forge. Colossus continuing to pop out of the Robo facility. And we do just see a couple Stalkers in that Zealot from Deer. Just setting up right now. Fire units from Bunny loading up and going to head up to the top side of the map. This is a bit of a larger drop than before. Let's see what he can do. Charge just about halfway done, +1 armor being chrono boosted still as well. There is a scan as you see this Observer. Picked off pretty easily by those couple of Marines. Fire still pressing through, Stalker takes a hit. Medevacs boosting towards the main base, decides to come in, but 2 Colossus. Stalkers with blink available. Why on earth isn't he blinking? Oh, he doesn't have blink. God, I'm getting mixed up with the last game. I mean, what a late stage of the game not to have blink though. Wow, that's actually, I mean, I know he went into the Colossus and so on, but still, I would have thought blink would be a priority. Well, without blink, I mean, Buddy's kind of lucky there is no blink, otherwise that would have been at least 1 dead medevac, if not 2. He would have been even further behind right now. Good defense in general by Deer, though. Has those Colossus set up in the main base. pretty well set, as we do see the medevacs loading up from Bunny, heading across. I'm going to start dropping in right here. Stalker's going to target the first medevac down pretty quick. He's on top of the Colossus, but the Colossus do have shield batteries healing them. And honestly, I mean, the Widowmines get a couple of shots, but that's about all. Those medevacs escaping away to the side. And we are going to be seeing, well, Bunny able to keep coming forwards. Pylon will be unpowered here. Cancels 2 High Templar coming into play. We're probably just looking to move in an Archon. Widowmine actually kills a Stalker and a High Templar as well. Some big connections there out of Bunny's army. Picks up some good tech units, but not really enough to justify how much was lost overall still, I don't think. As we see the Widowmine there getting picked off as well. And Dia's kind of getting to that point where it feels like he might just be able to continue attacking across the map. And here we go, a couple of Zelds charging forwards. Oh, Widowmine's still getting some connections. Storm's about to be done. There's only one High Templar with energy in this army. The couple of High Templar that were actually being warped in to help out as well over here, they got cancelled by the Pylon being killed, which actually unpowered the shield batteries as well, which maybe would have saved a couple of units. Not sure how big a difference it really would have made overall. Dia's kind of positioned to push in, but I don't know if he needs to. 2-2 upgrades are on the way. I mean, I don't disagree that Dia's ahead, but I wonder if he just would be better off waiting a little bit, although I guess attacking now, there is no ghosts in the army, and there is more tech being set up from Bunny, although he's wrapping around, setting up a surround, lifts up the command center. The Storms on the top side, they're going to try and slow that surround from coming in here, and well, the Vikings do come in on the top, and there's no blink, remember, I know that now. No blink, so the Vikings are going to be able to get away with this. The Stalker's still not even moving towards the Vikings to try and deal with it. They're just kind of happy for the Colossus to fall, but I feel like that generally means we're going to be maybe seeing Bunny starting to clean up the Vikings' land. It's close. The Archons coming in are quite a game changer. The SCV's pulling down too. There's only a few Stalkers left over. That Archon is going to drop. A couple of Marauders doing okay, but then extra reinforcing Zealot. It's being close. It was at that point where almost Bunny was able to push it back, but now it's tipped way over into the favor of Dia. And Dia will be able to push through, clean the rest of this up. And I mean, obviously the third base already shut down. Then you can just push into the natural at this point, perhaps. A few more Zealots showing up. I guess no tech in this army. There's the High Templars arriving though, so he has added something in to help deal some extra splash damage and just to help him out. And Dia will pick up 2-0 to win this series very, very easily. I mean, honestly, Bunny just took a lot of fights that were just a little bit... Well, they just weren't pretty, to say the least. They just weren't pretty. He has, dropping here, dropping there, losing a lot of units every single time, and in the end, the splash damage of Dia just becomes uncontestable because you have, 1 or 2 ghosts against so many units. You have, 4 Vikings against the Colossus, which got the kills because the Stalkers left them alone for so long. I'm still a little perplexed about the lack of the blink. GG's.